Let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're tackling Caitlyn Clark, her decision to leave the WNBA and that lifetime contract she snagged in Europe. And we're gonna do it all through the lens of this YouTube video essay we found. It definitely leans into some opinions, but it also brings up these huge questions, about how much players are worth, how the league works, and like the whole future of women's basketball.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's bigger than just like one player's career, right?
Yeah.
It's like this whole spotlight on maybe where things are clashing between like individual talent and how the league is set up.
Exactly, exactly. So Caitlin Clark, her rookie season, it's like something out of a movie montage, right? Record-breaking points, assists, and we're talking any WNBA season, not just rookie numbers. Plus, she's just racking up triple doubles, like it's nothing.
Yeah, and for anyone who might not know, a triple double is when a player hits double digits in three stats all in one game. So points, rebounds, assists, and to do that consistently, especially as a rookie, it's almost unheard of.
Yeah, it's insane. And the video, it argues that the WNBA completely fumbled this, like they're saying that her rookie contract, which was something like 76,000 to 78,000 for the first season and part of a 4-year deal for just over 300,000, that it totally undervalued her impact. I mean, to put that in perspective, the average WNBA salary is around 120,000, but then you look at the NBA and even the minimum rookie salary is over 900,000.
Yeah, that difference it's huge. You really have to wonder if the WNBA is truly valuing its top talent, especially the players who are like bringing in the viewers and the money.
Right. And then the video goes even further. They say, on top of the salary thing, the WNBA didn't even really use her star power for marketing. Like they claim the league was more focused on showing like a balanced roster instead of, going all in on their most marketable player.
It's an interesting point because yeah, keeping things fair between players is important, but did they miss a chance to really use Clark's popularity? Look at the NBA. Their marketing, it's all about the stars. And it works.
And then there's this European contract, a lifetime deal. You practically never see that in pro sports. I mean, that level of commitment, it shows you how much they value her talent, her potential.
It's a total game changer. And it could have a ripple effect on the whole WNBA. Like we might see other star players going for these big overseas deals if they feel like they're not getting what they're worth here.
And the video even goes beyond just the money. They're suggesting that Clark felt disrespected by the WNBA. They bring up stuff like that eye poke incident during the playoffs where it seemed like she was fouled, but the refs didn't call anything.
Yeah, those non-financial factors are huge, Athletes, like anyone else, they want to feel valued, respected where they work. If they feel unsupported or treated unfairly or taken for granted, yeah, that's going to influence their decisions.
For sure. And the video really hammers home this idea that Clark was like single-handedly reviving the WNBA. They point to how TV ratings just exploded when she played. People who never watched the league before were tuning in just to see her.
Oh, yeah, she definitely brought a surge in viewership. Now, was it all because of her? Or was it a bunch of factors? That's debatable. But her impact, you can't deny that.
Right, but the video says the WNBA was almost like too cool about this popularity surge. They weren't putting her face on every billboard or making her the face of the league. It was all very safe, very balanced.
It brings up a big question about marketing strategy. Should the WNBA stick with showcasing the whole league, or do they try that more star-driven model like the NBA?
Or is there a middle ground? Can they highlight individual players but still keep that team feeling, that league unity?
That's a tough one. It's about finding that balance, celebrating individual brilliance while still building that sense of like togetherness.
So you're saying there's more to unpack here. Shocker. All right, let's keep digging.
There's always more to the story, isn't there? The video, it paints this picture of the WNBA like missing this huge chance and maybe even pushing away their biggest star. But what if we look at it from the other side for a minute? What else could be going on here?
Okay, so maybe the WNBA isn't just, sitting back and doing nothing. What's their side of things?
Well, one big thing is how the league's finances work. They've got this collective bargaining agreement, and it sets limits on salaries, like how much any one player can earn. It's meant to keep things fair between teams so you don't have just a few rich teams scooping up all the stars.
So it's about like fairness and a level playing field.
Exactly. And that model, it has good points, right? It makes things more competitive, more exciting. Any team could win.
No.
But it also means that even star players, even the ones who bring in tons of money, they might not get paid what they could get somewhere else.
I see. It's like they're balancing rewarding individual players with keeping the whole league healthy.
Exactly. And there's another layer to this too. The WNBA, it's still pretty young. Their revenue, like how much money they bring in, it's still growing. It's not like the NBA, which makes like billions.
Yeah.
They're still working on becoming financially stable.
So in a way, their hands are tied. They can't just throw millions at players when the whole league is still figuring things out.
That's a big part of it. They're working with a different reality than the NBA. Their salaries reflect that, and while it might seem unfair to some people, it's kind of necessary given where they're at financially.
But doesn't that create this weird situation? Like if they can't pay top dollar, they risk losing players to these overseas leagues that can. And then that hurts the league's growth, right?
It's a valid concern for sure. The WNBA have to find a way to close that gap somehow. Maybe exploring new ways to bring in money, better TV deals, more sponsorships, stuff like that. That can help them build a stronger financial base, so they can compete with these other leagues for top talent.
Okay, so the WNBA has these financial challenges, but what about those claims that Clark felt disrespected by the league? What's a take on that?
Well, it's tough to speak for the entire WNBA, but league officials, they have said publicly that they value Clark's talent, her contributions. They've acknowledged her impact and said they were sad to see her go.
Right, but the video highlights specific things like that eye poke incident in the playoffs
Yeah.
where Clark might have felt like slighted. What does the WNBA say about stuff like that?
Well, we got to remember, bad calls happen in every sport.
Uh-huh.
It's human error. You can't get rid of it completely. As for that specific incident, the WNBA hasn't really said anything publicly. Maybe they handled it internally, reviewed the call, took some action.
So we don't have the full picture really. We're going off of one perspective, this video essay, and it's interesting, but it might not be the whole story.
Exactly, exactly. That's why it's always good to look at things from different angles. Get as much information as you can before you decide what's what.
And speaking of different angles, let's get back to this European contract. It's a big deal, no doubt, but how often do you see lifetime contracts in women's basketball?
Super rare,
Yeah.
like practically unheard of. This one with the European club, it's kind of unprecedented. The length of it, the money involved, it really shows that some of these overseas leagues are ready to spend big on WNBA stars.
And what does that mean for the WNBA's future? Could this be the start of more players getting lured away by these huge offers?
It's definitely possible. The money difference between the WNBA and some European leagues, it's a major factor. These are pro athletes. They have to make the best choice for their career, for their life.
It feels like the WNBA is at this crossroads. They've got all this amazing talent, but they're also dealing with these tough financial realities and these tempting offers from overseas. So what can they do? How do they adapt and keep going strong?
Well, they could rethink how they do salaries. Maybe find ways to pay players more without messing up the league's finances.
Yeah.
They could really step up their marketing game, focus on promoting those individual stars while still highlighting the team aspect.
So it's not just about throwing money at the problem. It's about being smart, creative, and adapting to how things are changing in women's pro basketball.
Exactly. Exactly. The WNBA needs to be proactive,
Well,
innovative, willing to change things up if they want to keep their top players and keep growing the league.
this is getting complicated, but it's so interesting how this one player's decision has started this whole conversation about the WNBA and the future of women's basketball. But wait, what about the fans in all of this? Where do they fit in? That's a great point. We can't forget about the fans. They're the ones who make any sports league what it is. What does Clark leaving mean for them? Especially those fans who started watching the WNBA because of her, because of how she plays.
Yeah, it's definitely a loss for those fans, and it could affect how many people watch, how many people go to games, at least for a while.
Yeah.
But it's also a chance for the WNBA to show off all the other talent they have.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing players in the league who deserve to be recognized, to be supported.
So it's like an opening for other players to shine, to connect with those fans who might be feeling kind of lost right now.
Exactly, exactly. And it's also a chance for the league to do more with their marketing. Highlight those individual stories, those skills, show off how diverse the players are. They can build new excitement, engage fans in new ways.
This whole thing has really got me thinking about about women's pro sports in general. I mean, we've been talking basketball, but are other leagues facing these same kind of
Oh,
challenges?
yeah. A lot of women's leagues are dealing with similar stuff. The pay gap, not enough resources, having to constantly fight for attention and support. They're, they're always being compared to the men's leagues, held to a different standard when it comes to, like, making money and getting media coverage.
It's like they're always having to climb uphill. But these leagues have incredible athletes, you know. They
Yeah.
deserve the same opportunities, the same fair pay for all their hard work and dedication.
Absolutely. And it's on us, the fans, to support these leagues, to push for change, to demand that women's sports get the same investment, the same respect as men's sports.
So where do we go from here? This video made things sound kind of grim for the WNBA, but you've also pointed out ways they could grow, adapt. What's your take on the whole situation?
I think it's too early to say if this is like the end for the WNBA or if it will actually lead to positive change. It all depends on how the league responds to all this.
Yeah.
If they're willing to take action, to listen to the players, to invest in the future and adapt to how things are changing, then I think they can not just survive, but actually become even stronger.
It's a make or break moment, that's for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. This deep dive has been quite the ride, you know, from all the excitement of Clark's rookie season to the shock of her leaving and all the complicated stuff it's brought up.
Yeah, we've looked at the financial side, the marketing challenges, and how important it is to respect and value athletes. We even touched on the bigger picture of women's pro sports and the fight for equality.
It's a lot to take in, and we've really only scratched the surface, but hopefully this deep dive has given you, the listener, a better understanding of all this.
And maybe it's made you think of some questions of your own as you keep following this story. Think about this. What can fans do to shape the future of the WNBA and other women's pro leagues? How can we be part of the change, support the athletes, and help build a sports world that's more fair, more successful for everyone?
Those are some big questions to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time for another look at something trending. Until then, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep the conversation going.